for you. Before we get started, I want to thank Monique Zappa. If you notice, I have a different mug today. This was a present from my producer, Monique, on What's New. Today is my birthday. Here's a fun fact for you all. I was born on 3/02 at exactly 3:02 a.m. And it's true because it's on my birth certificate because I didn't believe my parents. So that tells you a little bit about my personality. I'm very precise. Okay, moving into the top headlines for today. We're going to be taking a look at a pretty serious story to start things off. We've got the Summit County judge who has been under self-quarantine after traveling to Italy with her family. Our senior reporter, Drew Horansky, just talked to her moments ago. We're going to talk to him in just a second about what's going on there. Also, how some schools in Northeast Ohio are handling concerns about the coronavirus. And road work has started on Route 8 northbound in Summit County, so we'll tell you what you need to know about your commute there. And then we're going to bring in 3 News sports analyst Ben Axelrod to talk about Tristan Thompson and the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers chose not to buy out his contract, what that means for the team, what that means for Thompson moving forward. Before we let you know about changes to Giant Eagle's Fuel Perks Plus program, which took effect on Sunday, and then some very surprising news that Judge Judy is ending her run. The Honorable Judge Judy Shineland is ending her run on the TV show Judge Judy after 25 years. I will tell you the crazy story that she told me when I got to interview her a couple years ago. And then, of course, Saturday Night Live making fun of travel issues between New York City and Cleveland. So we'll let you know what's going on with that. Okay, now we're going to bring in 3 News senior reporter Drew Horansky to talk to us about Honorable Judge Allison McCarty, who is under self-quarantine right now for possible connection to the coronavirus.
You met Judge Judy?
I did.
That's really
I met
cool.
Judge Judy while I was at USC. It was amazing.
Well, we're talking judges today, and you're right. Judge Allison McCarty, she's a common pleas judge in Summit County. She was taking the trip of a lifetime with her husband for their 30th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago and spent a few weeks in northern Italy, in Venice, and then in central Italy in Florence. And they were...
Sounds amazing.
It was. And they went for Carnival. So they were there in Venice. You know, they do all of the Carnival events, which is sort of like our Mardi Gras, and it's one of those bucket list things to do. So they decided to do this for their 30th wedding anniversary. Well, their daughter lives in Paris, and she decided to join them for the first half of the trip, and then they moved on to Florence. Well, nice. She gets a text from her daughter this morning telling her that I have flu-like symptoms. This was the day the judge was planning to return to work, and her daughter had been advised not to go to her job in France, and so the judge decided to not go to her job here. And so her husband, Tom, and she have made the decision to self-quarantine for the next week and just sort of see what symptoms present themselves. Now, it is important to note there is nothing to suggest her daughter has coronavirus. Her daughter, Grace, was told by French health authorities to just stay at home, just treat it like the flu. So there's no confirmation. However, given the climate that we have today and the concerns about how this could spread, this is an example of the precautions that we're being encouraged to take.
And it's my understanding the judge here contacted the health officials, and she wasn't told she had to, but she was advised.
Right.
Maybe
Summit County said that yes, stay at home. You're making the right choice. We will follow your symptoms, and we're with curiosity, of course. Also important to note, she landed yesterday at Hawkins. She was on a flight, she said, from Philadelphia to Cleveland, and then she went straight home. So she never went to the courthouse. She was never in a courtroom. She was never exposed to the general public in her professional capacity, only as a traveler. And again, it was interesting because we asked the question to her, how was your travel experience? Obviously Italy is in such a panic mode. What did they do? And she said that there was nothing at the airport, at any of the airports she traveled through. I believe she said she went from Florence to Madrid to Philadelphia to Cleveland, and at no point did they take her temperature or look for any symptoms. Oh, wow. She said, though, on her flight over to Europe, when she flew, she said, international travel. She looked great. She sounded great. She said her daughter's symptoms have just remained kind of, consistent with the flu. And again, it was because of all of the concern in northern Italy, the fact we'll hear from that conversation directly in our 5 o'clock and our 6 p.m. broadcast. That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Drew. We appreciate it.
No problem. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Of course. A
couple more updates for you just in general so that you are aware. Italy, the country as a whole, is under a level 3 travel advisory. So that's been designated by the U.S. government due to ongoing spread of the coronavirus. All travel to the country should be considered. There are particular areas within Italy that have been designated a level 4 do not travel to. That's Lombardy and Veneto. So keep that in mind if you do have upcoming travel plans. Meanwhile, here at home, Kent State University and Walsh University have both called students studying abroad in Italy back to the U.S. To give you an update on the situation here at home, the U.S. has reported its first 2 coronavirus-related deaths. That was over the weekend. Both of those are in the state of Washington. Ohio does not have any confirmed cases of the coronavirus to date. Globally, across the entire Earth right now, there have been more than 2,900 deaths with more than 89,000 total cases of the coronavirus. Those symptoms, again, very flu-like symptoms, fever, cough, some chest pain, and shortness of breath. So how we're handling this locally here, Northeast Ohio schools have sent letters to parents related to the coronavirus because people are, of course, concerned. 2 of those school districts, Lakewood City Schools and the Rocky River School District, have sent letters to parents. One of the key messages they're sending there is if your child is sick, keep your child home from school, and they ask that students please be fever-free without medication for 24 hours before returning to school. And again, the common sense advice that we all know about, the same things that will help you prevent yourself from getting the flu. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, your mouth with those unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Cover your mouth when you cough. Cover your nose when you sneeze. Use a tissue. Throw the tissue away right away. And clean and disinfect objects, especially common objects, if you're working with an office or in an office or a school or anywhere like that. And if you are having chronic health issues, make sure you do see a health professional. Okay, keeping it in Summit County, the road work that we've been talking about on Route 8 has begun. It started yesterday in Summit County, so here are the detours that you need to know about if you're traveling on Route 8 through Stowe, Cuyahoga Falls, Hudson, and Boston Heights. This is a $58.6 million project, by the way, and it's focusing on the reconstruction of Route 8 northbound. So it's between Graham Road and Route 403. These are the particular areas that we're talking about. So effective yesterday, northbound traffic is split into 2 separate lanes. The left lane will cross over onto Route 8 southbound, while the right lane will use the median lane of Route 8 northbound. Now, for those of you who want to exit at Seasons Road, Steel Corners Road, or Route 303, in order to do that, you have to be traveling in the right lane, okay? So remember that. You're not going to be able to get off on Route 8 if you are traveling in the left-hand lane. You got to be in the right-hand lane for that. We do have more information about those closures online. This is a good time to remind you that if you text the word NOW to 216-344-3300, again, that's 216-344-3300, you can get links to all of the stories that we are talking about today. Okay, now we're going to bring in our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod. He did the story this morning that was talking about Tristan Thompson not taking a buyout from the Cleveland Cavaliers. We're going to talk about what that means for the team, what that means for Thompson. Is that something that people expected, that he would take a buyout?
You know, it was something that was speculated about, and the way buyouts work in the NBA is after the trade deadline, if a player is not traded, and Tristan's name did come up in trade talks because he's a valuable player, he's in the final year of his contract, so there's a belief that he doesn't have a future in Cleveland beyond this year. So if you're Cleveland, you're out of the postseason race, you might as well get something for Tristan Thompson, but no trade came to fruition. So a lot of times when a veteran is in the final year of his contract and he's playing on a team that's not going to make the playoffs, the two sides come to an agreement that the player gives back a little bit of money, and in return, the team releases him into free agency so that he can go sign with another team and play in the postseason. This has happened to the Cavs. The Cavs have had buyout players on their teams when they were in the NBA Finals and making their runs with LeBron.
That is wild.
Yeah,
that can happen.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, it can swing playoff series. I mean, the Cavs back in 2008, I remember they were playing the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics had 2 veteran players like not all-star players, but, strong veterans who made key plays against the Cavs in a Game 7 that the Cavs ultimately lost. So the Cavs have had Derek Williams, and Darren Williams. Both were buyout guys who wound up on their roster, and it happens. So Tristan, because of his situation, was thought to be a buyout candidate. And on top of that, he's still a very valuable player. And if he went to the Los Angeles Clippers or the Los Angeles Lakers or the Boston Celtics, that could swing a playoff series.
Sure.
But the deadline to do that, so they could still buy him out, but because he's still on the Cavs roster today, he would not be eligible to play in the postseason. So March 1st is the deadline for your current team to waive you and for you to go join another team and be postseason eligible. So we're past that deadline, but it is something that had been talked about. But we kind of got our final resolution on the matter yesterday.
Wow. My mind is just still a little bit blown about that. that can happen.
I kind of gave you all my NBA, CBA spiel in a minute there, but yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for that summary. I'm shocked. I'm sure there are people who are watching who are not, they're the more casual sports fan like myself who maybe weren't aware of that.
But so the interesting thing about it too is Tristan is making $18 million this year. So seemingly, he's a guy you would think would want to go play for a contender like the Clippers or the Lakers or Celtics, but who knows how much the Cavs wanted him to give back, and if that conversation ever really even happened. It's something that was talked about, but from both the Cavs and Tristan's perspective, never really seemed to gain a lot of steam.
So are we anticipating that Thompson plays somewhere else next season?
So that's another interesting part about all of this is there's a reason why Tristan may have not wanted a buyout, and that's because in the NBA, with the way the salary cap is structured and players' contracts are structured, there's something called bird rights, which allow your current team to pay you more money than any other team out there. So if he's just worried about making the most amount of money as possible, and who could fault him if that was his way of thinking, it behooves him for the Cavs to keep those bird rights and for him to negotiate an extension with the Cavs. They could also work out a sign-and trade where the Cavs sign him to a contract using those rules and then trade him to another team. So had the Cavs traded him, he would have lost his bird rights because he'd be going to a new team. He wouldn't have those this offseason. So there's some reason to think why he would want to remain with the Cavs at least through the end of this season. As far as next season, it's kind of murky. He's valuable enough that there's reason to think the Cavs would want to bring him back. But he's also 28 years old. This is probably the last big contract he's going to be signing in his NBA career. And the Cavs are still in the early stages of their rebuild. And, it's kind of something we saw with Kevin Love a few years ago. It's easy to say all the right things when you're signing a big money extension. But the reality is those losses can add up. And, Tristan's a guy who's played at NBA Finals, who's won an NBA title. I can't imagine him, aside from the money, having much reason to stay in Cleveland beyond this season.
Right. Well, the lawyer in me loves that contractual sort of like loopholing there. That's fascinating. And good for him. Go get your money, Tristan Thompson. Do it.
Absolutely.
It's your job. I'm for it. Go get it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of money, some issues that you might need to be aware of if you're a Giant Eagle customer and you use the Fuel Perks Plus program and you've been using that to taking advantage of discounts, but not necessarily at an extreme level. There are big changes that went into effect as of Sunday. So if you don't earn at least 50 points in a month now, you're going to lose those points. They're not going to roll over for you anymore. You don't necessarily have to redeem them if you earn them, but if you don't earn at least 50 points, you will lose them. If you do earn 50 points, they can roll over and you can redeem them at a later date. How you get points, by the way, in case you're not aware, you get a point for every dollar you spend in the store. You get 2 points for every gallon of gas that you purchase. Here's another change to that program as well. The company will no longer double manufacturer coupons, so that's something that you do need to keep in mind if you are a Giant Eagle shopper. Okay, moving on to some huge news in the entertainment industry. Judge Judy is ending its run after 25 years on the air. The Honorable Judge Judy Shineland talked about that today on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. You're going to see that at 4 p.m. from 4 to 5 p.m. right before What's New at 5 p.m. with Betsy Kling, Jay Crawford, myself, and Matt Wintz. 77 years old, she's decided that she's done with Judge Judy in its current form, and she's going to launch a new show called Judy Justice. Details of that show have not yet been revealed, but she did tell fans, and you'll see that on Ellen today. We got a little bit of a preview on that. You'll be able to watch brand new Judge Judy episodes for another full year before it goes to reruns. Now, Judge Judy is the highest paid court program, the highest rated court program every year, and Judge Judy gets paid for it too. She makes $47 million per year. So I had the opportunity to interview her when I was getting my master's in journalism at the University of Southern California, and she told me the crazy story about how she negotiates for her Judge Judy paycheck. She told me she goes out to dinner with one of the executives on the show. She's got an envelope. Inside that envelope, she has written down a number. That is the number that is worth it for her to stay another year on the Judge Judy show. There is no discussion about payment the entire time they're at dinner. At the end of the dinner, she takes that envelope, she slides it across the table, and they decide if they're going to keep her on and pay that amount of money. There is absolutely no negotiation in her take it or leave it negotiation style, and it's worked for her. It's gotten her paid, to this point, $47 million per year. So it'll be interesting to see what Judge Judy does in the Justice Judy program. I know we'll all be watching that. I can assure you I will be watching it. All right, more entertainment news for you. Cleveland had its turn in the limelight on Saturday Night Live on Saturday. There was a parody skit that was done about airport sushi. So if you've ever been to the airport and you see sort of the airport sushi, doesn't look the greatest, right? And especially if you travel at all from New York City to Cleveland, you've probably experienced some of the delays and the issues that can arise. I can tell you, I have made that flight many times, having lived in New York for about 3 years, being from Canton, flying into Cleveland to see my family. Seems like there is always a delay. There is always some sort of issue, right? So in this skit, Jake Gyllenhaal shows up as a traveling customer in his pajamas, and John Mulaney is there. He's an employee at the airport. Take a look at this.
You can't pat me down.
You don't have to use the front of your hands.
Okay, Jesus, we get it. You can continue on to Cleveland now.
How'd you know I was going to Cleveland?
That's where everyone at LaGuardia is going, like it or not. Attention!
They come by that joke honest. I will tell you that. Like I said, there have been many, many times I've been stuck at LaGuardia for an entire day waiting to make my way on to Cleveland. If you want to watch that full skit, of course, we have it linked in the story as well in the 3 News Now article. Thank you so much for being a part of 3 News Now today. We appreciate you being a part of the comments in the live stream on YouTube and Facebook. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's at youtube.com/user/WKYCTV. If you found us somewhere else, if you're on the WKYC.com website or the 3 News app and you're not following our Facebook page, you can do that at facebook.com/WKYC.channel3. You can always reach me directly on Twitter and Instagram at _Stephanie Haney. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/the_Stephanie Haney. Everyone have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow at around 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you at 5 p.m. in What's New.